And there we are.
All right, well, thank you all for coming, and we'll get on with the roll call. I'm here. Karen, wasn't coming?
Never heard from him.
All right, Boo,
Here.
Janice,
Here.
JJ,
Never heard from
Dr.
him.
Davis won't be here, Cleves here, Larry,
Here.
Dr. Scott,
Absent.
Jason,
Here.
Dr. Welch, Melissa's here. All right, Angelique
Here.
and Angie.
Here.
That's Taylor
Okay.
Brennan. You're supposed to be Jessica.
Taylor Rotary.
Yes.
Brenner. Okay. All right. There we are. Everybody had a chance to look at the minutes, since everybody had them in their packet. Are there any changes? If there's no changes to the minutes, they will stand as presented. Board training, Cleve,
And I apologize for not putting your name down. But I gave out
hey,
everything.
Mr. Duquesne's here.
Oh, that's JJ.
Okay. Come on in, come on, don't be afraid. Oh, no, we've already passed the collection. You can come in now. All right, Cleve.
Well, the Charter Board Leadership Academy met twice this month, actually. One on Zoom and one in person. And I put a little FYI sheet in the minutes, in the packet, I'm sorry. And I think most of that first page has to do just with FYI, fundamentals of governance, information focused on one thing I did want to point out is they suggested that this is on that second sheet, is that we could have a separate finance committee of the board. And the bylaws should reflect the fiscal, ethical, and any conflict of interest policies of the finance committee. And that's just another way to ensure transparency to the public and to the authorized, which of course is best. So I wanted to emphasize that. And ultimately, budgeting and financial planning, all budget matters are responsibility of the board. They also pointed out something that I don't think we have considered, maybe doing a pre-audit ourselves. And then when the auditors come in, if they ask any board members certain things, they will be up to date on any matter that they have questions. So that was something else. And then that second meeting was all about communication and advocacy. And they kept emphasizing two things, that we should try to develop our brand, which is another board responsibility. And I wasn't sure what that meant, but they said that they would be willing to come and do some training. In fact, they are consistently saying that we should have them come down and do a board training for us on legal matters and financial matters. And I said, okay, the board wants it out there, especially Melissa, but we want who handles all of this, and we can bring her down for a meeting. This committee has one more meeting in November, and then everything culminates in the LAPCS conference in December. As I said before, I plan to be there for that.
JJ, are you planning to be there also? I think you said you were gonna try.
I'm not sure yet.
Okay, what about Scott? I wonder, Scott, he probably is.
He said he would.
Yeah.
And of course, when I go, I try to attend things that have to do with the board. And maybe Scott, if he goes, he can do some instruction on strategies. More familiar with that. But that's the gist of it.
Well, Cleve, thank you very much. Are there any questions for him? Oh, you got off easy. Okay, Cleve, thank you ever so much. All right,
Taylor.
teachers rep?
So lower schools update, I just have one from ELA.
they are continuing to work through reading mastery units 1 to 3 for learners who require additional phonological awareness and phonics instructions. They are working on unit 1 for CPLA with learners at the first, second, and third grade instructional levels. At first and second grade levels, this includes learning basic parts of speech, reading first, second grade level stories, independently and answering comprehension questions or sequencing stories, and spelling single syllable words. At the third grade level, students are reading classic tales and answering comprehension questions in the written format, as well as analyzing various components of a story. For middle school in math, they are working on multi-digit subtraction in 4th grade and multi-digit multiplication in 5th grade. Today they did another round of progress monitoring using Easy CBM, and super excited to see the growth that the students have made on their progress through their growth goals. In ELA, which is my class, 5th grade concluded their morphology lesson. The class improved from a 36% on the pretest to 89% mastery as a whole. And this was a whole grade level's worth of material. This was the 3rd grade, so there aren't 5th, so we have to do 4th grade and 5th grade level. But from 3rd grade, you're able to fill in that entire repertoire. They've also concluded reading their 4th novel in the Magic Treehouse series, and we finished group projects today. We began our 5th novel, which is Tonight on the Titanic, and they are extremely engaged in the material. We had a whole discussion about the Titanic sinking and how just everything that went through it. Some of the kids actually thought it was a myth at first, and was like, nope, it's 1912. This is a real thing. We'll move on to figurative language immediately after. In 4th grade, they are still, one 4th grade class is still working on morphology. I've switched tactics to drilling the terms as flashcards rather than just doing like a teacher station working through the workbook, so adding just that extra piece, and I'm seeing improvement there. I did the same thing with the other 4th grade class, and as of today, they actually mastered it. Their pretest was a 26%, post-test the class went up to 89% as a whole. I will do a final application tomorrow, practicing the application with morphology, so taking a word and breaking it down into what it means based on the prefix and suffix. But then we will move on to figurative language as well. That class in particular, we would have finished sooner, but there tends to be a lot of sign-outs and absences, so it started to hinder progress. They were making great progress, but the absences really, I'd have to stop and catch up a student or everything, and it would hinder their progress. In general, for middle school, yesterday we took our big savers to Pizza Hut at Nichols. Very fun experience. They had to have saved 15,000 points to be able to go, and there was also a behavior contingency, so if they received 5 marks within the week's time frame leading up to it, or a referral, they could not go even if they had the points. Very fun experience. Some of them said it would look like a mall to them, and others were surprised at how many high schoolers were there, which we had to explain they're all in college. Next month, it'll be a Chick-fil-A trip. So we are alternating once a month, Chick-fil-A and Pizza Hut, just for them to have that opportunity. In upper, they have been progress monitoring on Easy BCM Math and ELA. Teachers have been analyzing the data every 2 weeks to ensure when to move on when criteria is met. Criteria for Easy BCM is a goal of 80%, and for Acadience, it is individualized to each student. The criteria is met on Easy CBM. Students are able to earn a theme dress down on Mondays. For Acadience, each grade band has individualized reinforcers for their students. School-wide, we have goals that are posted for Easy CBM and Acadience. Each ELA teacher has a goal for Acadience for their students. In math for upper school, 8th grade is about to move into dilations and similarities regarding shapes. 7th grade is going to start focusing on finding unit rate involving ratios and fractions. 6th grade is working on finding the area of polygons. And in ELA for upper school, almost all grades are done with Unit 1 of Amplify ELA. They are working on reading narrative text and answering questions. Sixth grade has been working on citations and dialogue. Seventh grade is working on how to answer written responses by using the RACES method or fixing writings. Eighth grade is working on looking at various perspectives within writings, and all grades are working a lot on fluency and point of view and author's purpose. We've had great class discussions and improvements in writing so far. And then for upper school science, they are working on test-taking strategies, annotating readings, and using RACES to answer essay-style questions while working on grade level standards and amplifying. And that's for the teacher.
Look,
Thank you. We have a lot.
yeah, sound like,
Get a copy of that so we can replace it.
I can print it right now if you want.
yeah,
When you get a chance.
Here, that's fine.
are
really
there any questions for us?
Not a question so much, but, you know, I think any data that you have on progress monitoring, we may need that later on, so please say that.
Oh, we already, we're on top of that.
That's on what, Cleve? I didn't get all that.
Progress monitoring data,
All right.
save all of that, cause somewhere down the line, if we do this superintendent's thing, we may
Right.
need that data to support what we're trying to do.
Right.
So in between, we have benchmarks. So in August, they take their baseline benchmark in both ELA and math. Both subjects take iReady, but then math does Easy CBM and ELA has a Cadence. And that benchmark is re-administered again at winter and then in May. But those will essentially always be on grade level. The progress monitoring is individualized to the instructional level, and as they make progress through those levels, they're bumped up to a next grade level. So we're trying to use that to practice the testing strategies, and also give them material they are somewhat familiar with. It's still going to be novel every time they get it, but for example, an ELA instructional level passage, a student's going to score quite differently compared to the grade level, and it's easier to keep them motivated in tracking the progress through.
Because they see them, they see themselves progressing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so if they're fourth grade and they are at second grade level, if they get to third, they see progress.
Or even for what I'll do is Miss Bridget administers my progress monitoring. So I have a goal sheet set up for her with each kid and what their goal is for fluency. And as soon as they are done their test, she knows instantly if they met it or not. And if they met it, she gives them a pass that they have to give to me to redeem a reward. So they know in the moment what they're doing and if they made progress.
Yeah, but unfortunately, at the state level, we don't, a school performance school is not based on how much progress they make, it's based on the final outcome.
Yeah, and we've had a lot going
We need
up.
to try to sell that at some point, that we should be scored also on progress that our students make.
Absolutely.
I think most teachers agree with that. The
Yeah.
state of Louisiana has not always agreed with that. Just
All right. No, that's correct. All right. Any questions on any of that? If there are no questions, let's go on to the financial report. Angela?
Yes. Thank you, Ms. Brennan. Thank you, Taylor. Thank you guys for coming. For this month, just want to go over a few things that we've been doing in the business office. I say we, me, kind of, but if you look at my financials, like on page 3, when we talk about September, you can see that maybe we're kind of starting to turn the corner a little bit. Everything always balances out. This in September we received our CSS certificated and support staff stipends and the differentiated compensation allocation, and I haven't paid it out, so it will definitely come back down to earth. But that's an action item that we'll get to in a minute. But the revenue was up a dot, and the expenditures were leveling out too from the beginning of the year stuff. I had mentioned to you guys a couple, maybe last year, that I would start every quarter. I have to report our quarterly financial statement to the state. So I included that in this month's report. And those are the last couple of pages of what I sent you guys. And if you look at our revenues and expenditures, almost everything is at that 25% mark, which is a quarter of the school gone. The ones that are a little higher, like insurance, it's a one-time payment. That's why those numbers are a little high. But overall, we are pretty much on track in our budgeting for revenues and expenditures. I do make a few budget revisions based on some changes that the state notifies me of when it comes to maybe some of the funding that we get from the federal government and things like that. But anyway, we are pretty much on track, and I hope to see it remain like that for next quarter. So I'll include this report in our quarterly meetings just so that you guys can see what's going on with that. As usual, I like to do that 3-year comparison. I think JJ enjoyed seeing that the first few times. We're still doing really well as far as what we look like in our cash accounts as opposed to maybe 3 or 4 years ago. Staying up to date on my reimbursements and things of that nature. If you can see, I just sent you a couple of updates. I submitted the AFR post-submission documents. They're gonna give me some feedback soon on that. Up to date on my reimbursement request, and a few things I have been doing since the last meeting. First quarter payroll taxes, first quarter financial report, which is what I just spoke about. I am still undergoing some stuff with the auditors. Not quite complete with that. One of the action items in a minute, we'll just talk about that. And on Tuesday, I attended the month 4 of the Business Manager Academy. And if I can just repeat, is a very helpful tool to keep me up to date on all the changes and things that this LDOE requires of the business managers in the state of Louisiana. And other than that, unless you have questions, that's pretty much my financial report as far as before we get to the action items.
Looks pretty good.
And since I think it's still my turn, does somebody have to say something about action items or? If you look at the agenda, I have a couple of action items. They're very straightforward, just requirements that we have to do. Anytime we get engaged with an auditor, we have to sign and submit this Louisiana compliance questionnaire. I did not put a copy in the packet. But I did send it to you guys. It's already signed by the president and the secretary and the treasurer. I'm sorry. Yeah, and I just need it approved. So, and it's basically, if you guys want to take a look, I would happily pass it around. But what I need is for you guys to adopt this instrument so that I can forward it to the auditors.
All right, you have a motion, we go ahead and adopt it.
I move.
It's been moved by Boo and second by Larry. Any questions? Not all in favor? Any opposition? You got it. What about the other one?
Okay, and the other action item was the approval of the certificated and support staff stipend allocation. Same exact thing as we did last year, but the state requires that we get it approved and adopted before I pay the funds. And so I sent you the guidance, very long again. I do have it if you guys need to take a look at it, but and then also sent you our specific plan here at Max, and basically it just states what the allocation amount is going to be, paid in November to personnel employed by Max Charter on November 1st. Unlike last year, they required that the full amount is distributed before December 15th. So I'm not going to make 2 payments like I did last year. I'm going to make just the one. And so this is what the Louisiana legislature voted on in lieu of raises, is these one-time stipends. So I'm hoping you guys had a chance to take a look at it, but this is the plan that I came up with, me and Ms. Rodriguez, excuse me, to get this paid out to employees next week sometime. So
Next week?
yeah,
Can't
2 weeks.
remember.
2 weeks, yeah.
All right, everybody have a chance to look at it. It was in the packet. Are there any questions on it? Are there any questions on it?
And the totals come out to what the allocation was. Yeah.
I move that we, approve the certified report.
You making the motion?
Yes, sir.
All right, Boo, and who's making the second, who seconded it?
I'll second it.
All right, Janice,
Okay. Janice?
are there any, yeah, Janice is seconded, any questions? All in favor? Any opposition? You've got that.
Thank you very much, and like
We
I
all
said,
have all of that.
yeah, if you guys need
Through
anything
email.
additional that I didn't send, please let me know, or if you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
All right. Okay,
And if anyone wishes some bars of candy,
Oh, yeah.
$2 each. They're gonna, be put toward the children's, field trip.
Yeah, I think Ms. Roger's gonna hit on it in her report, but, that's gonna be
Oh,
our,
that's, I'm sorry.
no, that's okay, thank you.
is there,
The more
Part of
marketing, the
finance.
better.
is there anything on grants?
I don't have anything additional except that Mr. Noah finally has some of the things he needs to get us working on that L'Oreal submission. So we'll be having some information for you in the next couple of board meetings about that.
Please do.
Yes, of course. And so he's working hard on that. And other than that, I don't really have any other
When is that
information.
due, Angie?
L'Oreal, so we missed today's deadline. So it's quarterly, so at their next board meeting we'll have it ready for submission. So hopefully, I think I want to say February, but we'll get it in.
Look, when you get that thing ready, give me a call.
Okay, certainly,
And we'll see if we can go see Cam on that.
certainly. Thank you very much.
Before it gets to him,
Okay,
okay?
sounds good.
All right, next item, building sites, I mean, look, I hadn't forgot about you about that awning out there, I just hadn't got around to it. But, I think
Well, we've had 20-something days of no rain, so it's been okay.
all right, anyhow, so much for the building site. Anything on that next item, update on Max Accountability Framework Committee?
We're in the process of scheduling something to move forward with that. So I talked to Dr. Hill and Mr. Larry, and I suppose Ms. Roderick will get with you to get some of the data that's needed
Yes, sir.
to analyze and move forward on that some more.
Well, Angelique, you're next.
Or next. Okay, so personal announcements and comments. Just to give you an update, we continue to have our POCs every Tuesday, and we have been focusing on progress monitoring data and on student work. Now we do have a rotating agenda, so we do progress monitoring. I have been covering some other topics such as the new evaluation series that rolled out to make sure that all the teachers understand what are the look-fors that I am looking for. And walkthroughs in November will focus on specifically opportunities to respond. How are the teachers engaging the students and giving them adequate opportunities to respond? As you know, learning can't take place just by listening and hopefully absorbing it like a sponge. The reality is you kind of have to work with the material, you have to wrestle with the material, and that requires lots of different tasks that you have to respond to, proving that you have or have not learned a thing, and it gives the teacher a little more data. So if you don't give enough opportunities for every student to respond, you really don't know where every student stands in your classroom day to day with regard. So that's one of the things I'm looking for in walkthroughs this month. As Skelly points out over here, we have World's Finest Chocolate fundraisers, and that is for earmarked school-wide field trip to, thank you, Global Wildlife. We're planning another big one, close the school down, get everyone in a bunch of buses and go, and hopefully no one gets eaten by a lion. So, but that's what we're selling. We met with them, and that actually started yesterday. Officially, the kickoff is tomorrow, but we were just so excited, we jumped the gun, and we already had people that have sold 3 boxes and are asking for more. So that's going on. We continue to have smaller fundraisers for grade level reinforcers and to recoup in our CABAS fund for those incentives that we use inside the classroom. You know, lower grades, it's candy heavy. Middle grades also uses candy, and candy, much like eggs and milk, has gone up. So we have been doing fundraisers in order to not put too much stress on our budget, but still move forward with these reinforcers that are usually helpful motivators. Progress monitoring is ongoing. As I said, every week there is something, whether it's the math one or the ELA one. We do leapfrog them from week to week, so we don't have two progress monitorings at once for the kids. And as Ms. Brannon pointed out, it has been going very well in terms of having those goals in front of the kid before they start, and having that immediate feedback on whether they made that goal or not, and reinforcing that. Now, we do have a PTA meeting on November 13th because we have a full office of officers, and we need to get those minutes ratified so we can do what we can do. Thank you so much, Miss Melissa, for all that work. And I forgot the most important one on here. I know you all have been waiting with bated breath. Opera started again. It started last Friday. I'm going again this Friday, and it is an amalgam of snippets of musicals and operas and languages. One in Spanish, a few in English, several in Italian, a German one, and we started on 2. So we're working our way through that program. But that has started with Dr. Francis at the College of the Music Department in vocal. So we did do that, and I don't know how I forgot. I mean, it's eaten up so much of my brain space, but I forgot to put it here on the principal's report. An update on CABAS. Mr. Noah, as our data manager, has been assisting the teachers in catching up with getting that learning picture. Like, the learning picture is how we take data, and the teachers make decisions day to day, and that's important to be able to adjust course from day to day and how you're teaching, and if a kid learned, if they learned, then that kid needs to be pushed further, and if they didn't learn, we gotta like slow it down, find a new way. So the data is there, but we have also, Dr. Shanman created for us a learning picture, and that is supposed to be rich in terms of showing the cumulative growth of a student in a certain course and eventually in all the courses, like how much have they learned everywhere while they are here. But with all that data comes a data dump that's necessary, and that's been the stymieing part. So we're getting Mr. Noah in on helping the teachers, getting that data into that picture so that the kids can use it. It's not just teacher use data on day to day, but having the kids to see their growth. That's an important factor in accelerating their learning, is that they know that they are actually going in a direction. You know, when you get new things, the new things are hard because they're new. And it's discouraging, and sometimes having that, well, look how far you've come so far. What makes you think you cannot learn this since you've learned all of these things and you didn't know them before? So that's an important factor that we're trying to get through. Dr. G continues to come. He's been all over the world, though. So, I mean, most of it's been, you know, where in the world is G? He did ping me. He was supposed to be here yesterday, but he got back really late from some other far-flung area of the globe, and so we have to reschedule him getting over here. But Dr. Weber and Dr. Shanman continue to meet weekly with our teachers, and sometimes twice a week, depending on where they are. He meets content groups, and then he also meets on grade level groups. I mean, they meet on grade level groups to go over some of the concerns or issues that we need help brainstorming on a way to resolve, or just making sure we are following with fidelity to the model, getting that feedback when it's, for example, behavior redirection, or kids are stymied on a particular content skill because, you know, and how do I find, like, I've been doing it, and the kids still struggle with it, and getting that feedback, well, have you probed all these prerequisite skills? And he'll rattle off a few things like, okay, that's what I got to do tomorrow. Run a probe and make sure that that's not the piece that's keeping the learning from happening. So they continue to be active even from a distance. And finally, transportation. we were able to get some job applicants for other positions, but still no applicant for that one. Are there any questions?
Anybody have any questions on anything concerning the school? Well, it seems like y'all are doing a very good job
Yeah,
so far.
it really does. You know, the teachers report, you know, the progress, you know, I know they might be 3 years behind grade level, but it's like in 3 months or 2 months, 3 months, they've made 1 year's progress with 2 more years to go. And I think if we can, you know, make 2 years progress every year, we'll get this place where it's
Yes,
get
sir.
it to where it needs to be, and we just have to do something to have the state aware of and give us credit for moving ahead most of the students 2 years.
How's our applications for future coming? Anything on that?
For
Let's say, I know it's early for next year, but
we still have a lot of people calling about the application, and if there is room in a grade, I mean, they want to know like, do you have room? It's like, first, sir, I need to know that you are eligible. So fill in the application, and yes, up until almost December, I would consider placing a child if it is to their advantage to be placed at that time, if there is room. Now, I mean, there's only a few places that we do have room. So,
And then open enrollment starts.
and open
in
enrollment
January.
starts at the end of January.
Yeah,
End of January.
Mhm.
for next year.
are there any questions? I think I've said this before, but yeah, please, go ahead.
I do have a question.
Sure.
How long do we keep records? It's still 7 years that we keep records of students?
It feels like so many more
I have
because
probably way more than that, but yes.
Probably have it from the beginning.
And I'm really just, you know, dovetailing on what Larry just said. If we had students who came here, let's say in 2014, and they were in the 4th grade or reading at the 1st grade level, and we could show that they are successful high school graduates and going out there have jobs and everything in the world, that's the greatest progress.
That jumps you
that we
ahead
can make.
quite quickly in that discussion
Yeah.
with the superintendent.
Yeah, and if we could show them, then I think that would improve our argument for giving us credit for the progress we help these students with. Not so much passing the big test, but making the progress that's gonna propel them to go out there and be successful in the world. And able to take care of themselves.
I mean, we had an employee that was a graduate,
Yes.
and it was impressive to see that, you know, she was on that path as well, but.
The doctor too.
But we live in a world now where people wanna see hard data. And if we have the data and we can start showing it, then we can.
Well, is there any way that can be looked at or retrieved?
I mean, you have to keep in mind, yes, probably, but there's a lot of differences between someone who was a 1st grader in 2014 and with CABAS and all the things, right? Like I just don't think it would be comparing
Well,
apples
even
to
from
oranges.
Compass, we've been on Compass, what, 3-4 years
This
now?
this is our fourth. We're into 4 years, so we've
We've
done
done 4
3.
years, so you passed through 3 years.
Not that there isn't data, but I think it wouldn't be the exact time.
And it was a tough, the first 2 years were really tough because of COVID
And
and
we got the rest of it.
Yeah.
I have at least 4 with me over in the dyslexia center. I mean, they would have been prior to CABAS, but we have 3 undergraduate students and 1 graduate student who's about to finish in psychological counseling. So I have 4 at least with me right now who are like blowing it, out of the water in college.
And they
Max
And they
Grants.
came here?
Yeah, right.
Could we get somebody, could you get maybe one of these students or somebody like that working on maybe collecting that? as
So
a
so
project for
so
them?
far, I do have like some like quotes. Like I kind of already begun on that, and so kind of like some things that they kind of said about how Max prepared them for, for their later education. So I have that from at least 3 of them already. I mean, it's not data per se. It's their experiences.
I think we had talked about this earlier, and what I correct me if I'm wrong, sir.
Yeah.
You wanted like to really delve into the rosters and find these people and where they are, how they are currently
Sort of like, where are they
doing,
now? Kind of thing.
or had they completed high school? Is that what you're talking about? Or completed college?
Well, the whole gamut of it,
Okay.
whatever can, and if this is something where, could we get like a college student under your guidance, somebody that's in your department? It doesn't have to be that, but they would be a little bit more familiar with what we're trying to do. To maybe chase after something like this, because this would be worth a lot down the road. It really would. Is this something a student?
And I suppose that the first thing would be to to identify a mechanism to track them down. Like I just happen to know, the ones that are with me,
Sure.
because of course, but the ones that, I mean, I'm sure there are
Yeah.
like
And
tons more out there.
Which is-
Maybe.
How can we track them down?
What at Nichols, what grade level are those 4 people?
I'm sorry, what?
At Nichols, what grade level are those 4 people? For example, if we could get one of those people, persons that's in the freshman, and just ask them, who was at Max with you? Okay,
Good.
that would give us a list of names. and
'Cause I
go
think-
back
'cause
into our records and see
I
where they
think
started.
3 of them are sort of, they were around together, and then one is a little younger than that.
But I bet you they could give us some names of people that was.
Of their peers.
And we have a foundation that could track where they started, how much
Where are they
progress
now?
we helped them make, and now they're in college.
Would we have access to, high school?
No, sir.
Data on how
not
our,
according to Ferber.
those that come through Max, how they're doing in high school?
Probably would have to come from them.
From them, they would have to bring that information to us. We do not have access to students' data once they have left Max.
So it would be like to track them down and get them to self-report.
Well, it's labor intensive, for
Mhm.
sure.
It is very, well, like my Caroline, she had all A's and B's first 9 weeks at Edie White, but she's getting the support at Edie White that she needs too,
Right.
As
you
well.
know? But, I mean, she improved 3 years her first year at Max, but then it fell back down because of COVID.
Yeah.
And also changing to Cobus at the same time, but I think it was more COVID than anything else. It set everybody back. It set everybody back. Well, the where's the one in New England that you're familiar with? They said how much those students had lost because of COVID.
You mean Gal? Or-
Yes. I mean,
Oh,
you
yeah, sure.
yeah, it was, you got something from them, on that. But it set every student back.
That goes back to the ESSER funding and the
Yeah,
focusing on lost learning and that kind of thing.
Right. But it
Well,
set,
I guess, let me ask this, what would it take to, what would we have to do, hire a student to do this, or a person? Cause I'm sure people here have enough on their plate now, but if we had to bring in someone who could look at this with a starting date at the end of COVID, if nothing else. Because COVID's gonna upset everything that you start to look at. I think you'd agree to that. And from that, we start keeping some decent records as best we can. What would it take to do that?
The goodwill of the students leaving, because to keep decent records requires them to report that. We don't have rights to that information. Like, if they did well in high school or something, they would have to.
But we
Or
would,
their parents.
but
And,
we would.
yeah, I'm not sure. Like, I guess I'm trying to think how would one find them? Like we you know we have names, and then so you know what sort of mechanism? I mean, I guess
Well,
some of that on
to me, if
social media could.
if you would
reel
start
back
at,
in.
if you would start at the end of COVID
Mhm.
and see what students graduated from here, and then we would have to have somebody call those parents and find out where they went to where are they now in high school, and would they even be willing to talk about that? Because evidently that's private information, right? Okay, and somebody to work on this is maybe would it be some kind of a college project?
Sounds more like a project than
What's that?
It sounds like a project, like a.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
suppose we would pay somebody to do it, let's say, but preferably a college student.
Because right now, kids who were in COVID as 7th graders are now seniors.
in high
That's
school.
my son.
Yes.
Like he had COVID when he was 7th grade, and he's a senior now. So that's like a frame of reference of where those kids are in terms of.
And the kids who
Well,
were
when
finishing
seventh
the
grade,
year
right.
out of max would
So
be
kids who were
juniors.
in like upper elementary would be in high school now.
Right. So it ought to be easier to at least be able to call the parents. We should know who those parents are.
Right.
Number one, call the parents, get permission, and even somebody that might go knock on the parents' door one day and trying to tell them what you do. And if it requires getting them to sign a piece of paper that you don't, I don't know, it looks like you got some privacy here, and so you get them to sign a piece of paper, and that would be something where you could start getting the knowledge.
May I make two suggestions?
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, first of all, we're never going to get everybody that's ever going to match. You can't ever get the whole population. If we can get a good sample, I think that is the type of evidence we need. My suggestion is that when we do meet, let us come up with a strategy for doing what you're saying, and then bring it back to the board and pursue it that way.
I have no problem with that, but just, there's many things we talk about. You gotta start somewhere, get the show on the road, and let's get going. And I know from the meeting I had with the superintendent, what you're talking about is going straight down that alley of the stuff he wants to see. And this is the way you get it. You go out and collect it. And you can't just request that from the people that are working here. I think that's somebody we maybe get a college student assigned to, and then come up with some money to pay the kid.
And like in our meetings, we can maybe identify like some information that we could something measurable.
Identify our strategy, and we get a college student say, this is our strategy, go to it.
So do y'all still have like student records that would have like names, addresses?
Yeah, the only thing that concerns me is
Is
the
the-
PII
Yes,
stuff, the
the
information
new
that.
FERPA laws that are in place.
Yeah.
Okay, because my thought or recommendation would be do a mass mailing to past students and create like an alumni association for Max, a Max Alumni Association. And all it would be a questionnaire, and one of the questions would be, are you willing to contact or meet with us to be able to share your experiences on high school,
What Max meant to you, that kind of stuff.
yeah, and maybe that's how you can get some of them or get contact information to be able to contact some of these students to?
No, I mean,
It takes to start an alumni group would take some time.
Yeah, and I'm not saying that they're gonna have monthly meetings or whatever, I'm just saying it would be a collection of,
Like it would be the mail out would go to Max
Alum.
alumni and say as an alum,
right,
these are some things that we would like to know from you.
right, are you willing to
Are you
share your experiences, your stories with
In high school.
your time at
college.
Max,
yeah.
how it helped you in high school, if you're in college, technical school, or went out into the workforce? And then maybe once you get that data back, you know, if people are willing to send it back in, then they may be willing, you'll have an address and a phone number, you can maybe contact them if you need more, you know, information.
But I think you pretty much have to go through the parents because we don't
Oh,
know.
that's absolute, and I'd really prefer we have somebody go knock on the door and say, I'm here to discuss this with you.
Again, that involves PI, that personal information. To go knock on the door means somebody who is supposed to protect that information, release that information. And we might set off more defensive mechanisms than.
So the correspondence would have to come through the school to the
And
individuals.
I think the
anonymously.
mail out is the
Why?
least threatening of them.
Yeah, and explain why.
Because they can get the mail and they'll either read it or they'll throw it in the garbage, I mean.
Correct.
So it's not like, you know,
PI, personal information. Even a list of the students that went to school.
I have to ask permission to put the address of my opera people to Dr. Francis, who's working with them. We have to have agreements for our high school to allow our transcript services, if you're a high school, to allow the transcript service to contact colleges. The parent or the student of age of majority has to sign off to allow that to happen.
All right. Well, listen, y'all come up with an idea.
Will come up.
Well, Ms. Rhodes, I know you worried about FERPA violations. But from what I know, if you said that you were collecting information for a directory, you would not be in violation of FERPA rules.
I could mail that stuff out and say that, yes.
Yeah,
But it would be up to them to decide
Yeah, it
if they
would-
want to or not.
exactly. And that's why I say we could come up with a strategy
Correct.
with your help when we have a meeting.
All right. Y'all gonna do that? Please.
That'll be on our agenda.
Appreciate it. All right. Any other questions? Good discussion. Thank you all ever so much. Appreciate it. Jael, if there any other business to come in front of the board?
we gotta.
Yeah.
Oh, you're
Because we love the PTA.
sorry about that, my dear.
Thanks
She's
for
sitting right there.
Sincere apologies for that. Go right ahead.
so I'm excited to announce we have a full PTA executive board this year. I volunteered to be the president because I didn't want to scare anybody out the room. Miss Peaches August will be our vice president, Miss Tammy Benoit will be our treasurer, and Miss Jessica Baystorm will be the secretary. Our give back night at Five Guys on October, I think it was the 15th, raised $140.61. The Pick a Date fundraiser is still going on. We asked that all their funds be turned in by Monday. When I checked the spreadsheet yesterday, so far 8 students have returned their calendars and money for a total of $3,152. Since Alumni Girl is back up and open, I emailed them to see if we can get back with their burger of the month. So the rest of 2024 must be completed, filled up. So he sent some months in 2025, and we chose December of 2025. So next December we will have a burger of the month for Max, which a percentage of those sales comes back to us. I had forgot to put it on here too, but I made some notes about the opera practice has started. Their performances are going to be Thursday, May the 1st, and then Saturday, May 3rd and Sunday, May 4th. The reason why they're skipping the Friday is because, from my understanding, they're gonna have a guest conductor from LSU, and I think that person had a prior commitment on the Friday. So it's gonna be Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. What they're doing is they're doing scenes and or acts from different, and I'll try. So Aida Carmen, Halsey Fan Tut. This must be the German one. D. Die Zaberforla. Don Giovanni, Help, the Global Links, Lanaz Di Figaro, Porglossi, and Porgy and Bess. So,
My favorite.
it's open to the community, so if anybody would like to join in on the opera, you are more than welcome to contact Dr. Francis. She will take you. I like the way she's doing practices this year, so like Colson goes on Monday, and it's kind of like the high school, college boys, and then the girls go on another day, and then the littles go on 2 other days. And I think it's gonna be a lot more productive, because when they were all together, the little girls would get off in the corner and chit chat and do whatever here, and so far it's going good, and she really works with them. I didn't know my child could sing. I mean, by no means can he be on American Idol, but they have a Christmas performance at St. John Episcopal Church in December. So she told the kids to start thinking about what they want to sing. So she does work with them as well. So they'll each sing, whoever wants to participate sings a song of their own. And then our next PTA meeting is going to be November 13th, so that we can approve the minutes from the October meeting, so that we can go to the bank and get signatures changed, so we can start providing stuff to school and the kids and things like that.
I'm glad you got all this.
Me too. So I'm like, look, I'm out of here after this year, so it's like somebody need to learn something, because I'm struggling with where we're gonna send them to high school. So,
Step up.
yeah,
Okay.
that's all for me.
Any questions on it?
Stuff.
Well, thank you very much, and especially for the effort put in to get how far you've gotten.
How many years?
This is our 4th. We started when he was in 4th grade and he's in 8th, so yeah,
I knew.
4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 5 years. Yeah. Yep.
Okay, anything else to come in front of the board?
Just a question, when is our December meeting?
It's before, I don't know
December.
if I have a calendar here.
19th?
It's before the week though. If we went outside, we'd see the meeting at 8.
I have it on my wall.
Is it next,
Could be.
or is it after
You know.
Christmas?
No,
No, it's
my
before
bad.
Christmas.
I feel like that's right, but it's on my wall. I don't.
December 19th is a Thursday.
That's
Christmas
right.
is
You got an answer?
Wednesday.
I asked for you.
It's the right one? Okay. All right. If there's nothing else to come in front of the board, do, hear a motion,
You
we
didn't do the
adjourn.
announcement.
Nobody wants to adjourn? Well, we'll go get something to drink
Okay,
or
go
eat
ahead.
or what?
Who moves?
Nobody yet.
Motion.
It's been
Cleve.
moved by Cleve and second by Boo.
No, I never,
Oh, you don't
I
second
never
it?
moved.
Okay,
to adjourn, never.
all right, well,
I don't wanna break my record.
God bless you. JJ, you gonna break your
Absolutely,
record?
I'll break.
All right, you got that, Boo?
For being
Yeah.
late.
All right. All,
I thought
anybody doesn't wanna join?
You can
Thank you.
stay.
We're going off live now.